Hey, we're live. How's it going, Apprentice Squad? It's great to be here with you guys on another live stream here with you, the stream team. Got a fun live stream today. Basically, I wanted to open it up to you guys. If you're working on projects, different things like that, working with foam, different cosplays, things like that, I just wanted to be able to open it up to you guys for questions. If there's something that you've had a challenge with, trying to figure out how to do a certain thing with foam, or what material you should probably use, or how you could accomplish a certain piece that you're thinking about doing or working on. Anyway, I just want to hear from you guys with questions. I'm going to just spend the time today answering those questions for you. I've got, materials here, razor blades, foam, everything we need to be able to dive in and hopefully be able to demonstrate some techniques. If it's like a question of like, how do I do this type of thing? We can do that, and we've got multiple camera angles to be able to answer that question for you, as well as pull out some different things to show you maybe some materials or some different products that might help you with different things. So super excited. So I need your guys' participation today in asking questions. Drop them in the comments, and that will help fuel our live stream today. If it gets a little slow, I'll pull out that center strip for the Mandalorian helmet that we worked on last time and redo that since we needed to make it wider. But that's kind of the setup for today's live stream. So I'm going to turn to the chat. We'll see who we've got, and hopefully you guys are hearing me okay with the audio. Yeah, with that, let's jump in and see if we have any questions already in the chat and see who we've got. Kevin the Bat Knight, yo, what's up? Howdy, howdy. Leia, hello. Ionolith, what's up? Welcome back to another fun week. Hey, April, how's it going? First question is, do you have a roll of 2mm I can from you left? I keep forgetting the message. Yes, we've got some left. So all we have left is the factory seconds on the rolls, but it's really a great deal. Like, they just have imperfections or like little pock marks here, but with how large that roll is, it's so easy to avoid those. Like, that's what I pull from is our factory seconds to use for all my projects. Instead of digging into our good stuff, or like perfect pristine stuff that we send off to Amazon. We just don't want, we have a high quality control for what we send out as like our optimal product. But then we have some where if it had like these little blemishes, or sometimes on the edges of the rolls, it'll get a little bit thinner or something like that. And so we put those in our factory seconds. But completely usable foam, but we're selling it at a discounted price. So yeah, make sure to message me. We've still got some 2mm left. We have 2, 4, and 6 in the rolls still left of our factory seconds. So, which reminds me, I need to get back with Patricia. I don't know if she's on, and coordinate some that she was looking at. So, live stream is being wonky. Is everybody seeing the stream okay? I saw a comment saying it was wonky. Thank you, the Foamsmith. That's so kind of you. Yeah, I'll have to try to check it out. Slade has no signal. Can you do a signal from DC? Hey, welcome to the live stream. Slade has no signal. Let me check that out. I'm sure I know the character, but for some reason off the top of my head, I'm not putting together what. Let's see who that is. Duke Thomas? Has a very, if this is the one, has a very like Wolverine-looking helmet, huh? Kind of like a mix between Wolverine and Batman. That's cool looking. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, the Signal, Duke Thomas. That is sweet. That is super cool looking. Yeah, I don't know. I can add it to the list of options to pull from. I've kind of got a list that I keep when people ask. Let's see. Question is, when will the high quality rolls be coming in so I can make my shield? And I was also wondering when you were going to remake your Captain America shield. Yeah, I do need to redo the Captain America shield for sure. And then we are not sure when we're gonna have the rolls that we all have like on Amazon, or depending on how the sales go, just selling the factory seconds ourselves. We may just end up selling the rolls ourselves as well. But when I say like factory seconds, like really the foam is completely usable to do your shield and everything like that. So right now would be a great opportunity to take advantage and get the better price on the rolls as well. So, hey, Frightline777, what's up? April can get. I always do that. No worries. I forget stuff in typing messages all the time too. Hey, Terry Kitchen. Your shop looks so awesome. What tools did you start with? Yeah, so great question from Terry Kitchen. Let me actually throw that one up on here because I have this cool thing we can do. Okay, so from Terry Kitchen, we've got this question. Should be popping up in just a second. But asking what tools did I start with? So the tools that I started with, I don't know if I have all of them. This was one of them. Just an X-Acto knife that I took from my wife's stash for her sewing stuff. And I got a cutting mat, which you can see here. It's just behind the lower thirds bar there. Cutting mat and contact cement. I started off with it in the little glass bottles. And then quickly learned, sorry, the dog is scratching my blast door. Just a second. Stop scratching the door, Cedric. Sorry for the loud hissing sound there, everybody. For those of you that are new to the stream, let me just show you what that looks like real quick. So you know what in the world just happened there on the audio. Let me switch cameras. Alright, upside down. There we go. That's the entrance to the workshop over there. Sorry, the workshop is a complete mess right now. We've just been kind of going at a crazy pace trying to get whoops, not that one. That video ad out for What the Foam that some of you may have seen, and it's been just crazy. I haven't had time to clean up the shop yet. So anyway, so yeah, basically, and then what you're going to need, what I quickly realized and what I should have started with as well, was a respirator like this. Now, if you're interested, Terry Kitchen, I have a list of tools and materials that I recommend and things like that. And I even have it kind of broken down by months, so you can kind of build up your tools gradually. and start with just the bare basics of what you need to kind of start making a van brace and that kind of thing, and then move your way up from there. The other key thing that you're going to want is a heat gun. So kind of between those things, you want a, X-Acto blade to cut the foam with, a cutting mat to protect your surfaces, because I didn't have a cutting mat to start with, and I ruined a couple tables. So you definitely want a cutting mat. Heat gun is huge. This is going to be so valuable to you. You can get them for a really good price. And once again, I point to the ones I've found to be the best price and ones that I've purchased and tested so that I know that they work well for you as well. On my kit.co. Let me see if I have the link to that in the description for you, so that if anybody else is wondering about tools and stuff. So I've kind of broken it down into little kits for like month 1, buy these things, month 2, buy these things. And I tried to kind of break it down. The first month's a little bit higher because you just kind of need to get your basics. But I've tried to make it so that each month is only about $35 worth of tools that you can kind of collect over time and build up your arsenal. So I have those where it's kind of like they're going to be titled month 1, month 2, etc. But then I also have just my cosplay arsenal, which is basically the everything that I use myself. And I may not have all of it in there, but I try to put a lot of it in there. So I'm going to drop that link in the description here real quick. Give me just a second, everybody. Sorry, fallen behind in the comments, but I'll catch up here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I already do have the link in there. So if you go down, my tool and recommendations, it's the kit.co/Cosplay Apprentice link in the description. So I guess I already have that in there. So yeah, that'll help you with kind of some of those questions. Let me hop back up in here. So yeah, great question from Terry Kitchen. Just gonna transition that out there, and let's go and see what else we got. So, Fairlane777, hey Skylar, where's the Mando helmet? So, it's where we left off last week. I need to redo this piece to be wider, and I haven't been able to dive in and do that. We've been trying to get that. We put the video out on YouTube and on our platforms and stuff, but we've been trying to get it ready to be able to put out as an actual ad to run to let people know about What the Foam, and so that's been kind of time consuming for that, and we're trying to make sure that we have everything set up to be able to have them listed on our website and be able to sell them too for you guys so that you can get it easily. But anyway, so yeah, we're where we left off. I don't know how well you guys are seeing that, but the center strip, we got to this point with it. We realized it was a little bit too thin once we did the cool tricks we did on it, but it was looking really cool. The way that we did the curve on this center strip, I think, turned out perfect. It's going to look pretty spot on. I'm just really excited when we finish this up. I want to see if someone near me has an Anovos helmet, which they cast, or I think the Anovos one, they did a 3D scan of the actual helmet, and then they made their replica off of that. And I want to be able to compare it to the Anovos helmet and see how close we were able to get just from kind of eyeballing it and using the reference images and stuff. So for those of you that haven't seen before, we did the venting in the back. We actually made it so that there are actual open hole vents in the back. And what's really cool is this is What the Foam here. This is only 2 millimeters thick, but it holds its shape well enough at just 2 millimeters that you can actually have these be vent pieces. Okay, are we back with audio? Sorry about that, guys. Let me know if you guys can hear me now. Sorry, when did I cut out? I don't know where you guys lost me. How much was I explaining that you didn't hear? So yeah, showing the Voltron helmet. I don't know if that's where we got left off or not, but okay. I think we're back on with the mic. I don't know where you guys lost me, but yeah, that's a Voltron helmet. We did that like 4 years ago on the live streams. Turned out pretty awesome. Yonel says, so glad we're doing a Q&A instead, to be honest. Good to have a break. Frightline777, man, you rock. Said, I said it before and I'll say it again, yours is the best Mando build, hands down, very precise. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, now that I have that video done, I'm hoping to be able to spend some time and really just crank that out and get that one done now. It's been kind of had to put it on the back burner a little bit. But let's see. Okay, where did I get to? Hi Cedric, your dog's name is Cedric. Yeah. After Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter. His brother from the same litter is named Harry, and so we named him Cedric. It was either Cedric or Ron, and we thought Cedric was more classy. For like being a King Charles Cavalier, it sounded more like a King Charles Cavalier name, so it fit him better. Okay, let's see. It takes your tape measure back all the time. Yeah, that and then this. I took this from the kitchen knife block. It's a honing steel. This works great for keeping your blades honed. So, like, I just keep using basically the same X-Acto blade, and hardly ever switch it out to a new one. Actually, I don't know when I have switched it out to a new one. If you just keep it honed, then it actually stays really nice and sharp and works great. So, we got Grogu here. Some of you are noticing clean workshops or unproductive workshops, right? Well, I kind of want to at least like know where all my stuff is, because half the time I'm spending like trying to find something. I'm like, I know I have this somewhere, but I don't know where it is, and I'm like looking all over, and I'm like, okay, found it, and it's like 10 minutes later, I've wasted all that time. So, hopefully. Hey, Slade, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll catch you on some more. I'm gonna check out that Signal character. That's amazing. Okay, the Foamsmith says, how do I get a bevel on foam with a knife to simulate a knife blade if the bevel is supposed to be longer than the foam is thick? Okay. Yes, great question. So if the bevel is supposed to be longer than the foam is thick. Okay, I'm going to throw this one up on here. This is a great question. Hey, Lego Builder! Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome! Quincy Lienjo, welcome as well. We're actually not making anything this time. We have been working on the Mandalorian helmet on the last several streams, but I wanted to just take a little break from this since we've been doing it for a few weeks now, and just to answer questions for you guys. So if you have any questions about, if you're working on a project or you've wondered how to accomplish a certain effect or something like that with foam, or what materials you should use for a certain build or piece or that kind of thing, throw your questions in the chat. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. But yeah, here's what we have been working on, the Mando helmet. If you have any questions about any of the pieces you see in the background or anything like that, let me know as well, and I can talk about that and let you know. You know, answer questions about that as well. So let's see. Okay. Okay, let's see. Bevel on foam. Here we go. Sending that. Okay, so let me see what you guys are seeing. I'm going to grab a sword blade to show you here. There it is. So this is actually quite a fun piece that we did. And it's kind of hidden in one of our videos. It was done for some Christmas costumes for Nutcracker, for Nutcracker soldiers. And so it's kind of hidden in there as far as not showing up for just like how to make a foam sword or how to do a bevel. But this worked out really well. I don't know if you guys can see, super thin blade using What the Foam. So I did 4mm What the Foam on this and sandwiched two together with just cutting a V-groove on the inside of both and running some thicker metal wire from Home Depot down the center of it that runs all the way into the handle so that it kind of sturdies it up a little bit and gives you a nice like thin edge that is really close to, you know, going to be a lot closer to sword blade thickness there. I didn't actually finish this with anything, prime it or whatever, like I would normally do. We actually painted red on. Okay, are you guys able to hear me now? This might not be as good of audio because it won't be as close to me, but hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So it's actually going to be on the microphone on my computer. I was using this wireless one, but it keeps disconnecting. I probably didn't get the receiver charged enough, and so it keeps disconnecting on us. So I'm going to use the microphone on the computer. You guys let me know if I need to turn that up or anything, or if you guys are hearing it okay. All right. Sorry, so I don't know what how much you guys heard, but essentially, so I was just kind of showing how you go about getting the bevel. So you just start, kind of getting that edge down to right at the edge of where the two pieces of foam meet each other, and then you kind of work your way back to that line, right? And you just kind of do it in, longer strokes. You don't want to have just like these small little sections because then it'll be harder to match those together. But just kind of do it in like a nice longer section. And then you kind of move on to the next one and just blend those together. So that's how I would do it with sanding. But the other options you can do is, let's say it's the square edge like this. And if your blade is thick enough where you can find a triangle foam dowel, you can just glue that along the edge and then just kind of, sand down any piece that overhangs or anything like that. But there aren't any that are like longer this way than they are this way. They're pretty equilateral triangles. So you can't get as deep of a blade bevel, if that makes sense. So, Foamsmith, let me know if that makes sense, if that's helpful. The other thing, you can always try. It's a little bit harder to do, but when you're cutting your foam to begin with, this is just harder to do because it's harder to get it to match up and be as clean of a line. But you can always use like a reversed underhand grip when you're cutting your bevel. This is going to be hard on a small piece of foam, but if you plan it out properly, you can get a pretty, wide bevel with using like the retractable blade on your foam. You would just have to plan it out properly so you know where you're cutting from and where you're going to get that depth you want, and then just maintaining that consistency. If you check out my video on cutting perfect bevels every time at the exact angle you want, I go through how you can plan that out. So I even have a calculator on my website that you can plug in the numbers and be able to figure out what bevel you are wanting to get and how far in you need to measure to get that angle that you want. So that would definitely help with doing that. And that's going to be a really smooth, precise, clean transition. And it definitely helps using something like What the Foam. Even some of the high density foams, they'll be better for sure, but sometimes it can be harder to cut long bevels on them like this, just because they have a little bit more squish to them, and it might have the tendency to kind of skip a little bit as you're going with those kind of long bevel cuts. If you're going to do it with with the high density foams, like most cosplay foams, you'll want to make sure you have like a brand new fresh blade, or that it's really nice and super sharp. And take your time, go nice and slow. Try not to stop in the middle of it. Try to do it all in one pull if you can. And yeah, so those are a couple different options of ways you can do that. Let me know if you guys are hearing me okay with the audio from the computer. Hey, Tech Savvy Hero. Okay, let me catch back up in the chat here. Where did I get to? Sorry about the mic problems, guys. Let's see. I need the 6mm for the nose ridges for my helmet. Yeah, sweet. Oh, hey, Bradwick, what's up? Okay, hello, hello all from Bradwick. Terry Kitchen says, yeah, I have the basics. Cheapest of the cheap, though. Thanks, man. Yeah, no problem. Let me switch cameras here so I can talk to you guys face to face. And let me pull down Foamsmith's question. Hopefully that helped, Foamsmith. Let me know if you need more clarification on that. As I get further down in the chat, I can revisit that. Or if any of you guys, if that brought up any questions for you in the process, let me know. Once again, I have a video on how to cut perfect bevels by hand. There's a video on that that's really helpful, and I have calculators and things like that that make it super easy. That's what I use on my patterns to make sure that I can make the pattern as recreatable as possible for you guys, so that you can get it, you know, precise, and it's not just kind of, hey, guess I'm cutting this at a bevel. It actually guides you through exactly where the blade should be going in and where it should end, and then you cut through. And it tells you, I go through some like cutting techniques too for cutting bevels with your hand, by hand. Basically the main thing is you want to use your hand as a wedge. I guess this isn't the best camera angle for this again now. Basically, let's see what this angle looks like. I almost need to put this camera on the other side because this camera. So basically, when you're cutting a bevel, you want to get yourself lined up at the angle that you want. You want to be able to holding it so that the blade isn't just cutting through like this, because that'll kind of have to create more of a sawing. There's less surface area across that blade to pull through. So you want to have it tilted back like that, kind of holding it just like a pencil. And then you're going to use your hand as a wedge, you know, whether it's a steeper bevel like that, you go into more of a fist kind of thing to prop it up and keep it at that angle. Or if it's a lower one, you kind of have to flatten your hand out a little bit more. So you get lined up, and then instead of just trying to cut through by moving your hand, you're going to just move your whole arm. So I'm just pulling my whole arm towards myself, and that's going to be the best way. Sorry. Showing the example, and I didn't even cut all the way through. That's embarrassing. Anyway, that's going to be a great way to get good, clean, consistent bevels, right? Where it's like the same bevel length the whole way through, and looks really good and clean. And doing it by hand, right? Obviously, there's some great tools out there like the CosTools V-Groove cutter, which you can actually remove one of the blades and use it to cut a bevel. Or also they have a bevel cutter as well that you can use to just cut things at a bevel. So there's some great tools out there to be able to help you cut precise, perfect bevels as well. But if you're trying to do it by hand, then that's kind of the technique that I've found to work the best. Just hone this real quick. Okay, is that audio working for you guys? It might sound kind of further away because the microphone's over at the computer, so I apologize for that. But hopefully it's good enough that you guys are hearing it. Let me know if we need to turn it up at all. But okay, let's check out our questions. What else have we got? Lego Builder Gamer 1999. So fun to see you on here. Hey, Sammy Seabones, what's up? Fun to see 2 What the Foam Mando helmets in 1 week. Yeah, totally. April, I've loved your comments on Instagram too on stuff. That was so great. Who needs AAA when you got WTF? So awesome. Alright, so then this is the point where the audio died. Sorry about that. Fumble. Yep. We had a double fumble 2 times with the mic going out. Okay. And we're back in. Hey, out past curfew, thank you. Holy cow. I just saw, let me... late fee. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Where's that at? The newest one. There we are. Boom. Awesome, awesome. Thank you. That's so generous. Okay, so... Alright. Just before you grab the helmet. Okay, so I think we made that up. I was wondering if you answered my question. Ionolith, which question was that? If it was about the foam, then yeah, I mean like the factory seconds are like perfectly usable foam, so I would jump on that. You can get it for a discounted price right now, and it'll be work perfect for your shield and your helmet stuff right now. So okay. At Comic-Con, I met Zoom from the Flash CW show. I showed him my Zoom impression, and it actually scared him. Wow, dude, that's awesome. That's so cool. Quincy Lienjo, can you make a glowing lasso? That would be sweet for like for I'm guessing Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, right? That would be cool. Trying to think how I would go about doing that. So two thoughts immediately come to mind. One would be get a lasso, find like the best glow in the dark paint, and cover it in it, and see if that worked. There's this paint that I saw that continues to it actually glows not just by with like light shining on it to kind of charge it up, but also heat that could probably work and actually stay glowing a little bit longer in more situations. The other thing I would look at is, I don't know how long they make EL wire, but I would look at the possibility, if they make it long enough, of actually just weaving it together to make a rope out of EL wire that's kind of that like yellow glow. That would be interesting to look at. That's kind of cool. Alright. Then Frightline777, I missed the part where you get the rolls of What the Foam. So yeah, if you go to our website, there should be a link in the description of this video. Let me make sure which one that goes to. That might take you directly to Amazon. If you go to our website, cosplayapprentice.com, here, let me drop the link in. cosplayapprentice.com. And then we're going to go to Shop, Products, What the Foam, and then here's the link. What did I do? Nope. Hold on, go back. There we go. And in here, I'm working on getting an actual storefront set up to be able to make this easier, but for now, I just put it under, it says buy What the Foam, has the Amazon link, and then underneath I have rolls with the link. Right now, there's a little, where you scroll down, you see What the Foam, the sheets, which are available on Amazon, and then the rolls, and then it has just a button you can click to message, and we'll open up a conversation about which ones you want. I can send you pricing and what the shipping costs would be, and then just kind of taking orders that way. via email right now. But that's the link to go through to kind of start that process to get yourself some rolls. So they're factory seconds. There's just some minor blemishes. Some of them might have a little bit bigger blemish on it, but because of the size of the roll, like literally they're, I mean, I don't know if you guys are seeing, this is the 2mm here. And I think this is actually the one that we used for towing the truck. I'm not positive, but it very well could be, or at least it was one that we brought out with us to do that shoot. Anyway, you can see I'm setting this on the chair. Like if I set it next to me, it comes up to my hips, and I'm pretty tall. My legs are quite long. These are about between 4 feet, almost about 4 feet tall, and then up to between 7 to 8 feet long. So these are huge. When we said in the ad that the largest rolls you've ever seen, like it's true. They're huge. So it's a lot of foam. So and we're selling them at a discounted price for the ones that are the factory seconds. We don't have any of the pristine rolls. We only have the factory seconds left. And really, like most of them, you'd be hard pressed to even find like a problem with it. You know, you'd be like, ah, this is perfectly fine foam. I got a killer deal. There are some that, you know, have maybe a little bit bigger like hole just in one spot or something like that, and you can just avoid it and be just fine. So anyway, let's see. Do you use Prop Monkey's prime filler or other things he sells? Yes, I have all of them. So if you guys haven't seen this stuff, it is pretty amazing. Let's see, what do I got? Oh, prime, fine finish, and rapid fill. So this stuff is awesome. Let me switch to the other camera angle for you guys to see this a little bit better. Here we are. So Prop Monkey Studios makes this rapid fill, fine finish, and prime. And I plastic dipped my foam for a really long time to kind of prime it, prep it ready for paint. And I've been using these more for a couple reasons. One, it's been winter time, and I don't want to try to find a space where I can get it up to 50 degrees to be able to do plastic dip and not have it be too cold and spray and be stinky. This stuff is like basically no odor, virtually no odor. I mean, it's got a smell to it, but it's not like a bad toxic smell or anything like that. And I can just brush it on, and then it's sandable. So if you do have a bigger little, like, you know, drip that you got on it or something like that, or some brush strokes showing up, it self-levels pretty well, but you might have some brush stroke stuff. You can sand it. All of these are sandable. Rapid fill is kind of for filling, you know, gaps or porous areas in the foam. Fine finish, you can actually wet sand this as well. Prime, this has been working really well. Let me just show you guys kind of some examples of some of these in action. So this here was done with the fine finish, I think is what I coated this one in. The Wonder Woman armband. So you can check out this video. We do the tiara and armband in the same video. And then the tiara here was done with the prime. Yeah, it works really well. They're all sandable. I've really enjoyed their product, and I'm got more. I had all these smaller tubs, and now we got some bigger ones. But these go really far. I haven't even gone through the small ones yet, but I just wanted to prep and have more. So yeah, these look really awesome. And then if you want to see the rapid fill, we used that on the Clone Trooper helmet. I had actually used white plastic dip on this, and it messed up my, I had like all these little like bubbles and everything all over it. I don't know if you guys can fully see like with this camera how smooth the surface is, but you can feel the difference. So I used rapid fill to fill all those little bubble pockmark things that came from the Plastidip, kind of bubbling and everything, and it fixed it. And then I think I did some fine finish over the top of that as well, just to kind of get even a finer detail. Now there's seams up here on the top somewhere, but you can't really see where they are. So yeah, I like their stuff. I would recommend it. It's like $20 for a bottle, but it goes really far, and it's definitely a good product. So hopefully that answered that question for you. Let's see what else we got. Okay. Hey Skylar, have you considered making Jack Sparrow's compass? I haven't, but that would be cool. That compass is pretty sweet. And make it spin 360 degrees. Yeah, that'd be cool. I would make you a functional one. You know what it says? Oh, is this where we lost the mic again? Okay, sorry, I'm behind on the chat, guys. I'm trying to catch up. Thinnest foam sword I've seen yet. Great job. Thanks, Jorts. Yeah. Check out, if we were cut out during that point, it's hidden in our Christmas special video where we were doing nutcracker props. So if you want to see how we built that sword, check out that video. It's like 3 nutcracker props for Christmas time or something. I can't remember what it's called, but if you type in, go to our channel and search for the nutcracker props one, or even just scroll back in our videos for a little bit, you'll see it. But yeah, we did the sword, we did some nutcracker hats, and we made like a little pop gun, functioning pop gun. And we did some cool stuff in that video. The wood grain on the stock of the little pop gun was really cool, and the sword was really awesome too. And yeah, it's just a testament to what the foam, 4mm what the foam. You can slap those two together, you bevel that down, and you've got, you know, the thickness of like an actual blade. So it's really cool, and I think maybe we need to just do that as a separate video because it's kind of been hidden in that Christmas one. So check that out. Yeah, sorry about the mic thing, guys. Okay. Gremlins are in the stream today, Leia said. Yono says, I've been watching Odin and Felicia's stream, and I noticed that you there all the time, but chat zooms by way too fast for me to say what's up. Oh, nice. Hey, Thomas tuned in for a second. Hooray, testing got done early, back to regular schedule, made it. Yeah! Awesome, man. I probably missed you because I'm so far behind on the chat, but I'm glad that testing got done early and went well. That's awesome. Zambi, hey, what's up? Welcome. Mic plug. Yeah, sorry about the mic thing, guys. Hopefully you guys are hearing me okay. I mean, I bet it's better if I turn this way and talk. But hopefully you're hearing me okay. I mean, it's a good microphone. I just don't know with the distance how well it's working. So. Still a small world when it's about cosplay crafting and whatnot. I wondered where I seen your name before. Oh, there we go. Okay. Surprised he remembers me. I haven't made it to one of the streams since like 2017 or 2018. It's been that long? Are you serious? So that's Lego Builder the Gamer 1999. Yeah, you were around back when we were building this one. Tuning in, right? Yeah, totally, man. That's so awesome. I'm so glad you made it in for the stream today. Sometimes say hi, but then for the most part I just love watching them with the witch armor and how it makes something like that. But with leather. Tech Savvy Hero says, Happy Friday, peeps. Happy Friday. And then when you guys were saying hi to Tech Savvy Hero, I thought you were saying my microphone was high tech and you guys were teasing me about it. But okay, that makes more sense now. April says, I was practicing bevels on a pattern last night and had a lot. It's so hard to keep that blade sharp and to make all the bevels the same. Yeah, so when you're doing like bevel cuts and stuff, let's see what camera are we on? When you're doing bevel cuts and stuff, you're gonna want to be honing your blade, after each cut, just to be safe, because that's gonna help you be able to, especially if you're working, depending on what type of foam you're working with, that'll make a difference of how often you want to hone it as well. For some reason, I'm not sure completely why. It's just a happy little perk. With cutting with the foam, I don't have to hone my blades near as often as I had to when using other foams, especially something like the format tiles or that kind of thing. But even some of the HD, the high density foams, and that kind of thing. Even with those, I had to hone my blade quite a bit. With what the foam, because it's so much more rigid, it doesn't give as easily when you start cutting through it. So a lot of times when they have a little bit more flex to them, a little bit more squish to it, the foam will start to compress before your blade can cut. And so unless your blade is super sharp and cuts before it compresses, then you'll start to kind of get this kind of skipping effect that'll happen, where you'll start to see kind of these little like strafes in your cut as it kind of like compresses cuts. And so that does make it a lot harder for sure. So you want to make sure you keep your blade really nice and sharp when you're doing bevels and straight cuts. But yeah, depending on what foam you're working with, I would be like honing this after each slice of about 12 inches or so. Just, you don't have to go for very long. It's just kind of a quick, and then, just to kind of keep it honed and keep that nice and sharp so that each of those cuts are doing well for you. Hopefully that helps, April. I'm not sure, but yeah, it is difficult to try to get them all the same, especially if the pattern doesn't mark them for you. So on my patterns, let me kind of draw out what I do. Actually, no, that's not one. So let's say, for example, I'm going to pull a script, one of our scripts here, out and draw this for you guys. So let me switch camera angles. So let's say my pattern runs, like this, right? Here's our piece that we're needing to cut, kind of thing. And, we've got our registration marks along this edge, let's say, okay? But this needs to be a bevel. So when I have on my patterns, when it's a bevel, and I want to make sure that everyone's has some kind of guide as to what bevel to cut that at. So what I do is, let's say we're going to be cutting on 4mm foam. So for a 45-degree bevel, this would be in 45-degree or 4mm, roughly. So I'm just estimating, right? But I will have kind of like a second line here that is the bevel, and then I'll have like arrows or some kind of indication to show which way that blade is going to be cutting. And I have it kind of broken down on the pattern to kind of explain what these mean. But then when I cut this out, And this can help you guys too with making your own patterns. And once again, I have a video on how to calculate this, how far in it needs to go to create the bevel that you want, to get the exact degree angle that you want or need. So let's say you have a reference image and you can kind of see it from a nice profile side view or whatever, and you can kind of measure the angle on there with like a protractor or with an angle finder or just digitally, and you know what angle you need, you can then pop it into the calculator on my website and know, and what you put in, what thickness foam you're using, what angle you're wanting, and then it tells you how far in you need to cut to get that. Part of it depends too if you're doing a full bevel cut, or if you're doing, I kind of did this quite big. I'm going to cut this down just so I'm not using as much foam for this test. Let's say that's our piece, right? Okay, now let me see if I can find a scrap piece that's big enough to put this on. Okay, here we are. So then what you can do is with this secondary line, you'll actually kind of create your own, you just with the blade, see if I'm on in camera here, create kind of your own little dashed line with your X-Acto knife, just kind of cutting into the paper a little bit, but not like cutting all the way through, because then you'd be too hard to work with. And then when you pin this down, hopefully this is helpful in making sense for you guys here. So I would use the gold. Normally I would pin this down with some pins, but since this is kind of just an example, I don't need to be super exact, just to kind of show the idea. So that's our bevel cut. I'm going to mark that in gold, but then I'm going to go into that those little spaces that we just cut with that dashed line and mark that as well. Okay, and then let's just say that the rest of these were straight cuts, right? Straight cut and straight cut. Hopefully this is helpful. If you guys are kind of like, oh, why are you spending so much time on this? I find this to be a really useful technique for being able to get, ooh, wedge that in there, hold on. Really useful technique for being able to get consistent bevels all the time, right? Or as close to consistent as you can get with cutting by hand, but pretty impressively consistent. So I'm going to cut my straight lines first here. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to go past where I need to there. And past where I need to there. And then what you can do is if you're able to get up one of these edges to just be visible along your bevel cut, then you can just mark right down where that dash line is going, so that you know where the bottom it needs to be of your foam piece, or vice versa, right? So let's just say for this our bevel is going, you know, from this edge into that far, right? So now this gives you a guide. So it's going to start here. That's where my blade's entering the foam. This is where it's ending. So now, yeah, I'm going to tip this up so you guys can see what I'm doing, but then I'll set it up this way. You're going to basically line your blade up so that it's contacting here and at that base. And you can also just kind of eyeball that when you're looking at it from above. You say, hey, I'm making contact there, and then the tip of that blade is in line with my end. And you get it into position, you get your hand created as a wedge right there, and then you're going to start pulling through, and then you're just keeping you're pulling your whole arm, and you're keeping this blade, that's where you're watching, just to make sure it's cutting along that line the whole time. And there you go. So pretty consistent bevel throughout that, even through a curve right there with doing that. Now we lined it up on this one side, but because I got my hand lined up and then kept it as a wedge, and I tried to keep my hand exactly how it was and just move my arm and moved the foam to get the curve, rather than trying to like move my hand to get the curve, because then you start losing your wedge. That keeps it consistent throughout the cut. Hopefully that was helpful, made some sense for you guys there with that. Grab a drink of water here real quick. Okay. Yeah, so hopefully that helps, April. I mean, you probably already know all that from watching all the stuff, but yeah, it's just a testament to Bevels being tricky for sure, to try to get that consistency. All right, let's see. So now once again, that's talking by hand, right? So I mentioned earlier that you can get like the tools from Cos Tools and things like that. That'll help you cut, a set angle bevel consistently every single time. If it's 45s, boom, 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 all day kind of thing. Or if you're needing just that specific angle or just a bevel and you're not too particular about, you just want, hey, I need a beveled edge on this just to look cooler. You've got a couple options from Cos Tools. Between their V-groove cutter, you can just use one blade on that to do a angle in either direction. You just, whichever side you put the blade on. You can also use that to do V-groove cuts. Or they have their, handheld bevel one that just has a blade on this. You can change the depth of it, and that just cuts. I believe this one's just at a 45. This one cuts at a 45. So yeah, you have that option too. I was just going through doing it by hand, how you can go about doing it to get it the most consistent. But those are great tools that you can get as well to help you with that. Okay, let's see. Where did we get to? Okay, here we are. How much do I need to send you for 6mm roll of WTF? So go through that web link that I just put in the description for the rolls. Go in there, scroll down to the rolls, and then there's a button right below that. Click that and email me about it, and I'll send you pricing. And let me know which size you're wanting. If it's the 6mm, say, hey, I'm interested in the 6mm roll. How much is it? And then we can open up that conversation, talk like through pricing, what the shipping would look like, and that kind of stuff. So, because partly if you're buying more than one roll, we can actually like roll them up together to send it, and it cuts down on the shipping costs because instead of like getting 3 separately, because they're so big, it can get the shipping can get crazy pretty quick. And so if you're doing more than one roll, we can roll them up together, and it takes up about the same space, just a little bit heavier. So it cuts down on the cost of the shipping. Also, it depends on where you live and that kind of stuff. So I can't give you a full price because just like I don't know what it would be for you specifically. So anyway, that's what I'm working on, a web page that will help with all that and trying to figure out our shipping and how we want to handle that. But for now, it's kind of just reach out through that link. It'll just populate an email for you, and then you just type what you need, and it'll send it over to me, and we can start talking through what you want to do. Yeah, not yet. I need to reach out to Brian and see if he can get me the red ones, Thomas. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, my chat had frozen for a second. Sorry about that. Foamsmith said, perfect, thank you so much. Okay, good. I finally got to see that question, that answered your question for you. And howdy from Out Past Curfew, Myron. April says, Myron was good in that toe video. Yeah, that was fun, right? We had a couple more things with him in there, but we ended up having to cut him a little bit shorter because of just timing for the video to try to get it. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Okay, perfect. So we got another question from Terry Kitchen. Oh yeah, sorry. Cedric is snoring back here. Let me show you guys. A lot of you have seen his little foam box that he lays in over here. But yeah, I guess you're picking that up on the audio of him snoring back here, so there you go. That's him, all right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, another question from Terry Kitchen. I suck at smoothing seams. Getting better, but what's the trick? Okay, so let me pull that question up here. Hey, Siren Sky, what's up? I'm gonna get to your question here in just a second. That's a great question. Please stay in here. I'm trying to get through the list here. I think I'm getting close, but hey, we got another person. Thea V. Chow. Perfect. Another question there. So, all right, I'm gonna try to get through these. All right, here we go. So this one's from Terry Kitchen. Getting smooth seams. All right. So, few key aspects to getting the smooth seams. One is going to be the pattern that you're working with, how well it planned out the darts, because it's going to be harder to get smooth seams when they flattened it out, when there was more of a curve to it and they just kind of flattened it out and smashed that curve. That's not going to be there for you to be able to attach your foam. You're going to have to do more work to try to add that curve into the foam before gluing it together. So part of it is the pattern that you're working with, but also a big thing is I would highly recommend looking into getting the CosTools straight cutter. This thing helps a ton. So what this allows you to be able to do is cut perfect 90-degree straight cuts. So anywhere where you have a seam line that you're cutting, cut it with this, and then you get perfect 90s on both sides of your seam. So then those are going to line up a lot cleaner. Okay, so they're going to have perfect 90 sticking together, seam to, or edge to edge seam. Okay, because that's going to get a perfect like surface contact. If you're cutting it and it's slightly at an angle and this one's slightly at an angle and then those go together, then you have your foam that kind of peaks at the seam rather than just being a smooth, straight transition. Okay, so one is partially the pattern planning to make those seams as easy to hide as possible. One of those things being hiding your seams altogether so you don't have to deal with seams with trying to smooth them over. So an example here is what I've done with the Mandalorian helmet. You can see where I have these registration marks. So I planned my seam right along here on this edge and right here and here. So where it's meeting up there, I just run along here with a light sand just to kind of smooth those over, and those seams will disappear completely because I'm hiding them on harsh edges already. So there's already a change in dimension that's happening along there, and those are great spots to be able to hide seams because something's supposed to be happening there. Another example is here on the Wonder Woman helmet. So I hit a seam right along here and cut that as a seam line because there's a change in direction happening. There's something happening on the piece right there, and it's really easy to hide seams anywhere where there's like a change happening or a depth change or anything like that. Because it doesn't seem out of place. It doesn't stand out like a sore thumb, even if it is kind of visible. The other thing is anywhere where you have layers. So this has a big center strip that runs all the way along the center. So I chose to cut up my seams. So I have one that runs right down the center, but then also to alleviate the stress in the curves here, I used right along the line where the edge of that center strip is going to be going to, because that's going to get covered up or it'll sit right on the edge and no one will ever notice it when you get that in there. So same thing here, this earpiece comes up along here, so I have my seam lines here. There's a piece that runs along here, so I covered that up. So I use that as a seam line. Back here, this piece is like a square insert piece kind of thing, so I was able to cut along there. And the only two visible seams that are going to be there that aren't going to be covered up by other layers or hidden on those transition points that are kind of on just a smooth area is here and here. Okay? So instead of running my seam from front to back along there, I actually ran it on the sides here to break that up. And the reason I did that, if you look at this from the front view, these seams sit right on the horizon of the helmet. So it's not even going to be, nobody's going to even see that seam just looking at it straight on. But also too, with where we did it and how we planned it out, the seams running this way are taking a simple curve, rather than the seams running this way is going to be a more complex curve that you'd have to try to transition between, right? So this kind of runs across this and takes less finicking with, but then also too, just with the finishing that we're going to do on this and that same sanding technique where you just take the sander and just kind of run it along that seam just barely, just to kind of sand those down so there's no glue spots sticking up, along with the perfect straight cut. These are going to disappear completely here. But even if they are somewhatly visible, your main photograph angle of that front view, you're not going to see the seams because they're hidden along the horizon. Does that make sense? So a lot of it is, what my preference is hiding as many seams as I can in the patterning of it and where I'm cutting it up to begin with, so that way there's a lot less finish work and hiding them later on. But then if you do have to have them visible, try to put them, people don't usually see this part of the helmet that much, right? So if you can hide your seams along that horizon, then it's easier to hide. So hopefully that was helpful. Partially too, the foam that you're using will make a big difference. Those straight cuts and hiding your seams as much as you can in the first place, and then after that, I really like the rapid fill and fine finish products to be able to go over, and they're flexible. They stay flexible, but they're sandable, and you can really get a nice smooth finish across any of those existing seams that are left. Long answer to your question, but hopefully that helped. Kind of a couple different aspects. I would really recommend checking out What the Foam. I know it's like Cosplay Apprentice's foam, so I'm like, yeah, buy this. But really, it does make a difference in being able to hide your seams. I don't know if you guys saw Odin's Mandalorian helmet he just made out of What the Foam. The ability for him to just be able to sand along all those seams, because he had quite a few along the dome on the top, and he was able to hide them quite well just because he was able to sand those seams down, so then they become less visible. There's not as much of a protrusion or anything else happening along those there. So that's helped a ton with using What the Foam. You have that seam, you just come in. It sands really well and really smooth, so you can come in with your sanding barrel and kind of just sand along that seam. And it hides it pretty well just sanding it, and then once you come in with your finishes and that kind of stuff, or just a little bit of filler, you can use Quick Seal by DAP to do that. It's kind of like a paintable, flexible caulk type of thing. Or you can use like the Prop Monkey Studios products, or you can try what Odin did in that video. I think he used some kind of spackling. I haven't used that myself, but he used it to great success in his last video. So, okay. Hopefully that helped answer that question. Moving on to the other ones. Trying to get through as many as I can, guys. Sorry if you're waiting for me to try to get to yours. Okay. Bradwick says, same for me, Terry. So yeah, hopefully Bradwick, that helped as well. Kind of answer some of those questions. And I do have a video on hiding your seams, if you guys want to check that out. That kind of goes through some of those tricks as well. Sammy Seabone says, say Skylar, could you tow a semi-truck with What the Foam? I don't know. That should be our next test, because like towing that truck was way easier than I thought it was going to be. I kind of wish I had just like gunned it too. I was, you know, I was driving like how I would if I was towing a car, right? Where you just kind of like gradually accelerate till it gets taut, and then you can kind of start to pick up speed. And so I was kind of just doing that, but I kind of wish I had gunned it to see what would happen, because I think it would have held up just fine. But yeah, we should try a semi next. It's pretty easy to keep WTF with smooth seams, but if you do sort of mess up, you can just Dremel it smooth. Yep. So yeah. Great point from Yonalith there. April, I just bought Fine Finish, wondering if I should try Rapid Fill or do what Odin has been using, the Alex Fast Dry. I don't know how... It's hard for me to recommend with the Alex Fast Dry because I haven't used it. I don't know how smooth of a surface you can get, but I can say with the Rapid Fill and the Fine Finish that you can get a really smooth surface. Like, just once again, that's what I used on the Clone Trooper helmet, and like, it is really, I mean, like, just to the touch, you can be like, wow, that's really smooth. So, and with the Fine Finish, you can wet sand it too, so you can get even smoother. But depending on what foam you're using and stuff too, you may not even need the Rapid Fill. The Fine Finish or the Prime would probably be enough. So with using the What the Foam here, I just used the Fine Finish on this one, and that's the same thing Ted used, Evil Ted, used for all his Cyberpunk builds, where he used the 2mm What the Foam. He did like a jaw piece stuff and like some eye piece things and stuff using What the Foam. And he just did the Fine Finish on top of that and got a really good smooth chrome finish with the Spastics paint after using the Fine Finish. This one was Prime, and got a nice smooth finish as well. So it kind of just depends on what you're going for, but you can get a really good smooth finish with these. And once again, if you're wanting to get really, really smooth, I kind of just did this pretty quick, but with Fine Finish, if you wait for it to set up long enough, you can actually wet sand it too and use even higher grits, like an 800 grit or that kind of thing, to get it like really, really smooth. So I might be doing something like that with the Mandalorian helmet, because I want it to be like this really smooth finish, because we're going so reflective on it. You want to get it really nice and smooth. So I don't know on the Alex Fast Dry how well that works. I've seen stuff like that before, and I'm like, I wonder if that would work on foam, but I hadn't seen anybody really use that until Odin. But I don't know, having not inspected the piece in person, how smooth of a finish that sands down to, you know? Because I know that some speckles and stuff like that, it's good enough for a wall, but it still might be pretty porous and that kind of stuff once you've sanded it, whereas other ones might be super smooth. I don't know. So Hey, Thomas, see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that helped answer your question, April. Thomas, so nice to see you, man. I worked with the DI Dremel, but I think that I'm a little heavy-handed. Yeah, so a trick with dremeling, real quick, and hopefully this won't be too loud because I'm far enough away. Oh, okay, I don't have a battery for this one nearby, so we'll use this one. I'll just show you the movement so it's not super loud for you guys. Okay, so when I'm dremeling, I find that partially too, so Terry, I know I keep coming back to what the foam, but if you're using some of the other foams, the sanding barrel and stuff, it'll eat through that foam so quick. And so it's really easy to be heavy-handed. With what the foam, it's gonna fight back a little bit more. So when you're using the sanding barrel, it's not gonna just like eat through half of your foam in one pass. But what I like to do either way, whatever foam I'm working on, is I like to, I mean, it depends on which way your Dremel's spinning, but I think for the most part they're going to spin in the same direction. I tend to do just only pressing down or only like making contact in one direction. So if I'm sanding, I'm going to just go shh, and then lift off, shh, come back, and only moving in that one direction. Because what will happen is, too, the way that the rotation is happening can also cause it to dig in and become more heavy-handed, like you said, and work against you. In that, like, if you're going this way, and it's just kind of like a tire's like peeling out, right? In the in mud, right? If it's spinning in a certain direction, and it's just going to kind of just sink into that mud, right? Unless it's being kind of actually has some kind of grip propelling forward. So if you're coming in one direction and the blade is spinning, and the sander is spinning the opposite direction, then it's gonna be, I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. It's gonna be you're kind of going against that, and it will kind of dig in as you pull towards you more than if you're going in the other direction. Now, I don't know if they all spin the same direction, so that's something you just kind of need to figure out on a test piece. But just figure out which way it kind of doesn't, you're not going against the spin, right? And then you just go in just that direction as you're sanding with the Dremel, okay? Because that will make a significant difference in that I found in just getting it to be more clean and consistent. Sometimes if I'm like really trying to get down in an area, I'll go back and forth on it. But for the most part, if I'm doing anything like longer and I'm trying to get it to match a certain thing, I just go in one direction the whole time. If you may want to use a stone bit, depending on what foams you're using. You may want to use a stone bit instead of the sanding barrel, because that will help too. It's going to take away less at a given time and give you a little bit more control over how hard you press to take away more, rather than just kind of eating through it. So a stone bit on your Dremel might help as well. So, but then too, if you go with what the foam, it's going to sand like a dream. So another bonus for what the foam. Okay, email sent for inquiry. Perfect, yay! I'll have to catch up on my emails. Since you did your Mando helmet the best way, the areas that you will need to fill won't take away from the fluidity of the helmet. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So with where the seams are and everything like that, it's gonna be the easiest to smoothly transition across the helmet. Yeah, thank you, Frightline. Okay, here we go. So let's see. I would help you sand. I love sanding. From Yonalith to Terry Kitchen. I can hear you clearly, but movement is choppy. Okay. Sorry, we have so many devices on our Wi-Fi now that I think it's causing some problems with like connection issues and stuff. But hopefully it's not too choppy where you can't get what we're going for here. Okay, cool. So I've got to now Thea V. Chow's question. I love your content, man. I hope you continue your work. What are your thoughts of Mod Podge versus Plastidip for priming / sealing? I thin Mod Podge and run it through an airbrush. Cool. So yeah, great question on that. Let me see if I can throw that up on the screen here. Okay, so my thoughts: Mod Podge versus Plastidip. I haven't sealed that many things with Mod Podge, so I don't know that I can do a full out kind of like analysis of what my preference would be. I feel like both of them work well, and if you're doing it, especially the way you're doing, where you don't have the brush strokes, with kind of doing it in the spray on, that you're kind of at the same advantage on both. So the advantage that I find with Plastidip is, that would be otherwise if you're just using the Mod Podge with the brush, is that it is a spray. I find that I can get smoother surfaces with less dimpling or brush strokes with a spray. But if you're doing it through an airbrush, I think that that's genius, and you probably can get the same or even better results using an airbrush because it's going to be that nice fine mist and have a little bit more control. I believe that Mod Podge though is more sandable, so I think that you would be able to have a little bit of an advantage there with spraying. If you did have a drip or something like that, it's probably a little bit more easily fixed than with Plastidip. Plastidip I found is sandable to an extent, mostly more of kind of like a wet sand. It's a little bit harder to repair, and so you need to do a good job spraying it in the first place. I have a video on how to get smooth Plastidip spray. But yeah, I think that it's just kind of more of your preference. The nice thing, another advantage probably for the Mod Podge category, is that it doesn't have a horrible smell, and you can probably do it indoors with the airbrush, if you have a good little vent system there to kind of keep the particles away from you breathing them in. But yeah, so that's nice because you don't have to find a space where you can go do a stinky spray, or deal with like temperature issues of having to, if you're wanting to do it outside, having it have to be at least 50 degrees. During the summer, not a problem, but winter time, maybe it's more of just like a seasonal thing. Because what I've found is during the winter, I've used other things to seal my foam, like with the Prop Monkey Studios products, because I'm like, I don't want to have to figure out how I can get out and do Plastidip or wait for a warm day or something like that. So, yeah, it's all kind of based on probably if you have the ability to, what you prefer, what's the less expensive option for you. If you're in an apartment or, and in a small space kind of thing, if you can go outdoors, if it's warm enough. So I think both have their advantages for sure, and I think they probably both work great. And I would throw in the mix that it'd be worth checking out the Prop Monkey Studios products, Fine Finish, Rapid Fill, and Prime as well, because they are some good ones for finishing your props and costume pieces before painting as well. So, Yonalit the Sandmaster, says Tex Heavy Hero. Hey, see you, Yonalit. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, I actually did something similar because the pattern did not come with the bevel estimate line. Oh, perfect. Yeah, April, that's awesome. Good job. Okay, Siren Sky. I believe Siren Sky is the one that gave us the awesome idea for using Fomo in a piping bag. So if you guys didn't see that video, check that out. Be able to do really cool edging. You just kind of water the Fomo down to where it fits in a piping bag, and you can do some really cool stuff with that. So thank you for that again. But let's see, question for you. Have you ever used foam on a fabric-based costume piece for detailing? Is it something you'd recommend just from what you know from working with foam? Let me throw that question up on here. And hopefully we've still got you on. Thanks for hanging around to get your question answered. Okay, so is it something you recommend just from what you know from working with foam? Using foam as on a fabric-based costume piece for detailing. So, I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning on for my hiccup costume of doing a combination of foam and fabric. I'm actually going to probably be doing, I might be doing some sections where foam is sewed to fabric, because I'll be using the What the Foam, 2mm What the Foam, and be sewing it to fabric, but I think I might also be gluing and attaching some scales out of Fomo on there. I would think it probably depends on how much foam you're using, how much flex needs to happen in that area, and you know, to what level of detail you're adding on there, kind of thing. Because if you have enough gaps between where you're kind of like you're using it for like some edging or something like that and gluing it on, I think there's glues that would work great and hold it on there really well between the fabric and foam. Whether that's contact cement, I've glued. So I've kind of done a mask where I had the 2mm base as like just the foam base to kind of give it the shape, and then I glued fabric over the top of it to kind of for a Iron Fist mask. And so you can check out that. I just used the Super 77 spray, and it held really well. It was kind of more of a spandex material. But I only did it to a certain point, and then I had the stretch in the back to be able to kind of tighten it on and that kind of stuff. And that worked really well with attaching it to itself, or attaching them to each other. But that's going to hold pretty still, there's not a whole lot of like change of motion that happens just kind of on your face or head area there. But if you're in more of like a high movement area and you have pieces that are on the fabric that are crossing some of those high movement areas that might cause a lot of pinching, it might be a little bit more difficult to try to have it stay attached to the fabric really well, if that makes sense. It might start to kind of like wear on that and cause it to peel off a little bit, would be my guess. I haven't done it, but based on what I know of it and what I have done with fabric gluing foam to, I would say it would work pretty well if you're using it kind of more as just like detail pieces and there's room for the fabric to move without putting a lot of strain on those areas. Does that make sense? But yeah, I'm excited to see what you do with that, because that would be really cool to see, and kind of see how you can use the two together. Because there's definitely like pieces where it's like, oh man, that would be awesome to just do that out of foam and glue that to the fabric for that detail. Because you can create it out of the foam easier than you can try to, do like edging or different things. Some of the stuff that you try to do on with different materials might not be as easy or be as flexible, right? Because the foam is nice where it has kind of that flex and stretch and stuff. So yeah, hopefully that helps answer the question a little bit. If you have any follow-up on that, let me know in the chat. But I think that based on kind of those criteria, it would work pretty well. All right. And then, hi, how are you? I'm doing good. It's nice to see you on here. Oh, Terry Kitchen saying, I got a red set for Christmas, just started using them. I'm guessing you're talking about the Cos-Tool stuff. Let me know what you think, because I love these things, and I want to get the red set, Like, this blue's kind of throwing off my black and red vibes in here. No, I love these things. So awesome. And now I'm excited for you that you got some. I want to hear from you as you start using them, how it goes. Frightline, aww. back to work. Well, see you. Thanks so much for tuning in, man. It's always a pleasure. Nice, I'll give that a shot. Also, maybe need to practice. Yeah, so once again, you know, all these techniques and everything and some of these key things are important, but really it's just getting in and doing it and kind of practicing, and you're going to learn from the mistakes. You're going to learn even faster. Like, oh, okay, let me make sure not to do that again. For example, I probably won't use white Plastidip again because of what it did to my helmet one time. For some reason, I've heard from other people that like the white Plastidip just doesn't seem to go on as smooth as the black or other ones. So, a little heads up for you guys on that. But yeah, you'll learn from just doing. That's going to be the biggest thing, is just get in and do it and start playing with it. You're going to mess up. It's fine. There's no such thing as failure. It's just a stepping stone, a learning experience that you can learn to be able to learn even faster. It's an accelerant for growth and learning. So, printed templates for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 face shell. I'm going to build it out of cardstock eventually. Sweet! That sounds awesome. So what you're saying is WTF is a miracle material. I mean, you said it, not me. But no, but really, it really is amazing. I love it for like so many different reasons. Cuts super clean, sands super smooth. Like it lets you do things with cutting it that you can't do with other foams, just because it actually gives some pushback, and so you can cut a bevel right off of an edge of a piece. You know, if you cut it straight and you're like, oh, I was supposed to bevel that, you can actually go in and add the bevel in. And just different things like that. It holds its shape super well, so you can create thin helmets like this that are only 4 millimeters thick, or armor pieces that are going to be closer to a realistic thickness of armor, but still have really great shape hold, and have it be, you know, a pretty sturdy helmet. If you're wanting to go like really sturdy, you can go up to the 6 millimeter, and you can create like, you know, pauldrons that are like you could probably LARP with this. I don't know. I don't know what their rules are or different things, but it's pretty sturdy. When you get into that 6 millimeter, you're gonna have like really strong, sturdy stuff. But it gives you a lot of flexibility and some really cool options. When you start playing with it, it opens up so many possibilities. So yeah, essentially, it's pretty amazing. C-Bone says, I can help you with getting a semi, maybe, to try towing with it. That's awesome. Okay, Harvey Midnight. Mod Podge is great, but there's literally zero difference between the matte and gloss finishes. I just carefully wet the brush and paint the Mod Podge on to avoid brush strokes. Yeah, and so it does a pretty good job of not leaving brush strokes on its own already. And then if you do have anything, you can, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys, but I believe it's relatively sandable as well. So if you need to knock down some of those strokes, if you did get any. But yeah, thank you for that. Harvey Midnight, welcome. Nice to have you on the stream. Tiger Lee Arts, hey, how's it going? Can you make props without templates, like winging it? You can. There's lots of people that do that really well. For me, my biggest thing is I'm all about trying to make stuff in a way that I can share it, and then other people can remake it and have it be, you know, look exactly the same as what I created, and be like super excited about their project, even if it's their first time making it, to have something that they're just like really proud of. And so in order to control more variables with that, I tend to do patterns and templatize everything. But you can definitely, you know, just wing it and just go for it. I mean, that's what I did with the I don't know if you guys are seeing it up there, the Inigo Montoya sword that's hanging from the ceiling there. That one I just kind of started looking at reference images and just started doing it. I didn't do too much patterning for that, but I was just kind of making that one for my own, and that was like back one of my first projects. So Would you ever do a collaboration with other crafters such as Odin Makes or Costume Kid or Much Props? Yeah, definitely. This is Flame Dragon Man. Yeah, totally. We've kind of done some collaboration stuff with Much Props and Tristan Makes, and I plan on doing something with Odin eventually. And I've been in contact with Costume Kid to try to send him some of our foam to try out. How much water to do the Fomo for icing stuff? So if you check out the video on that, so I have a video, I think it's titled Fomo Icing or Foam Clay Icing, something like that. Check it out on the channel. I go through kind of how to get it to that consistency. I wasn't able to determine exactly how much water to add to get it to that stage. It was more just kind of because it gets so messy and icing-y, it was hard to kind of like mix it beforehand and put it in there and kind of get a ratio. Because then too, I didn't know until I put it in the piping bag and tried to get it out of if it was coming out at the consistency I wanted. So you can kind of get it, to kind of a paste and stick it in there, see how it's coming out on some, piece of paper, test it and see, add a little bit more water, mix it in. Inside, kind of just squishing it around. It was a little bit, it's just kind of more trial by error on that. I wish I had an answer for you. But it's basically just get it to like a paste, kind of the consistency of icing. I should have given more context for my use of foam on fabric. I have a bodysuit piece that needs a piped frosting, whipped cream textured trim along the top neckline that I can't get from fabric. Oh, are you thinking of using the Fomo to do that then with the piped thing? On the neckline. Here, let me, hold on, move this. Alright, we've got about 12 minutes left here before we'll finish up the stream. I'll try to get to as many more questions as I can. Okay, so foam on fabric, I have a bodysuit piece that needs a piped frosting / whipped cream textured trim along the top neckline I can't get from fabric. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, are you thinking of doing it with Fomo then? My biggest concern would be just with the neckline is how much movement would be happening there. Mostly more like when it's on, there's not going to be probably a whole lot of movement happening, except for maybe like kind of maybe a little bit of stretch and pull from just kind of like shoulder movement or crouching kind of thing that might put some pressure on that, but more so taking it on and off, and then when it's sitting on its own. So if it's Fomo and it's running the whole neckline, I would just be concerned that it might, just with the more of like the wear and tear of on and off and that kind of stuff, that you might have points that would crack on it over time. Because while it'll stay flexible, and then especially if you seal it, it'll stay flexible for longer. Like if you seal it with a Plastidip or some kind of flexible coating to kind of seal in and stop it from drying out anymore, it'll stay flexible. But there's only, with like a piece of foam, like there's a piece of what the foam, you can bend it in half and it won't snap. You can flex the Fomo pretty well, but there is a point where it's like that's a little bit too much and it breaks the cells in it. So like if being on the collar neckline of a shirt, type of, or material shirt type of thing on the neckline, if you had it running like all the way around, and then you go to hang that shirt up, if it's bending too much along the shoulders or things like that, and kind of having same thing with like the more it bends and goes back and bends and goes back, it kind of weakens that point too, and then could eventually could snap. So I'm not sure on that with the extra detail, and with it being Fomo, and running such a long length across an area that would get kind of pinched more when it's not on someone. Like when it's on, I don't think it would have a problem. There's not a whole lot of movement and stuff that would happen in that area, as much as once it's like of kind of the on and off and trying to store it, hang it up, and just the potential pinching or folding, that might happen there. Yeah, and then great answering the question there for Tiger Lee Arts on how much to add for the icing. Siren Sky's the pro at that. Yeah, basically once it's like so sticky, it's just kind of sticking to your hands. Sometimes it'll get a little sticky on the outside edge, and it'll be kind of sticking to your hand, but as you kind of keep playing with it a little bit, it will stop. So you want to just keep going a little bit more after that. Just bought a can of white Plastidip as it was on clearance at Walmart. Oops. What? Sorry, April. It might work fine for you. Just when I had that happen with me because I was like, okay, I'm going to do white because the Clone Trooper helmet base is white. That way I don't have to try to get it to, cover over black with white. And it could have just been me. It could have been that can. But once I posted about it, people were like, yeah, I've had problems with white Plastidip too. So I don't know. It may or may not be a thing. It's just anecdotal evidence. I don't have any scientific evidence on it. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm just going to stick with black where I didn't have any problems before. Then I transfer it to a baggie and either teaspoon or tablespoon, depending on the amount of foam in the bag, and squish before adding more until it feels like it's thick icing. Yeah. Hey, Terry Kitchen, thanks. See you next time. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. That was awesome. You had great questions. Lots of other people, I'm sure, were wondering those same questions. So thank you for those awesome questions and being able to share that with you guys. So thanks for tuning in. Okay. So, Siren Sky, I don't know what you think on that response with it being Fomo and trying to get the kind of that whipped icing look. What you think on that. You would definitely want to seal it with something before putting it on there. And it'd be interesting to see if you do it. I'd love to see how it turns out. Because I could partially too. It's like how many times are you planning on wearing it, taking it off, putting it back on, kind of thing. Over time is where I would just see the longevity of it potentially being an issue, unless you're just like handling it really well and you store it where it has some shape under it and not just like on a hanger or something where it's going to kind of pinch on itself more. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Anyway, cool. Well, I think I got to the end of the chats. Am I missing something? Am I missing chats here? I think I'm at the end. All right, cool. Well, my throat's a little sore from all the talking. But hopefully that was helpful for you guys. And hopefully that was fun. Nice little break from the Mandalorian helmet and being able to kind of answer some questions for you guys. And I really appreciate everyone who submitted questions and participated and tuned in. And you guys are awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was a good, helpful live stream for you. and you were able to get your question answered. I tried to get everybody. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think with that, we'll go ahead and finish up here. We're almost at the 2-hour mark, and that's usually a good time to finish up. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Make sure to go check out the other videos on our channel. I've got videos on all kinds of different techniques: cutting foam, cutting bevels, cutting circles, doing groove cuts, doing scoring, engraving, detail stuff, all kinds of great stuff. Check it out and have fun. You can get just lost watching all these different stuff on our channel. We've got lots of videos on it. We've got some fun build videos on there too if you guys wanted to see any of these. The Wonder Woman stuff. We have the Wonder Woman helmet that's kind of hiding out back there. The Clone Trooper helmet, Hiccup stuff. I've got the chest plate and pauldrons as well for his. The Black Panther helmet. Kylo Ren lightsaber. Han Solo blaster. All kinds of great stuff. So go check those out. Comment. Let me know. Hey, I saw you on the live stream. And if you guys want to, join us on Discord throughout the week. Link in the description of this video. We'd love to see you there as well. We have a fun little community. Places to be able to share your builds and ask questions there as well to the group, and just hang out and chat throughout the week. So check that out, and with that, I'll wish you guys a great weekend and a great week till next time, same place. Cosplay on, my friends. See ya. And come on, strike a pose.